Hello everyone and welcome back. I hope that you're all doing well. If this is your first time stopping by, thank you very much for doing so. If you haven't subscribed as yet, please go ahead and do so. Leave a comment, like and share. Today I will be talking about growing up in Jamaica. As most of you will know from my previous videos, I grew up in the parish of Manchester. In Jamaica, we have our own unique culture, so we say, do, and experience things a lot differently from the rest of the world. I can remember as far back as attending Bethabra Infant School, Bethabra All Age School, and the Prattville Primary School. However, I'm going to begin my video today by talking about going to church on Sundays. We attended the Knockpatrick Shiloh Apostolic Church, and we had to be in Sunday school every Sunday morning, rain or shine. But one thing I didn't like about Sunday school is that after it is finished, you would have to go in front of the entire church and recite your golden text. And back then, I was a shy little girl. So you just imagine me in front of the whole church talking about our golden text is taken from St. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 4. I didn't open my mouth up there once. But going home, I would be reciting that golden text because I knew it, but I was so shy, I didn't want to say no golden text in front of the whole church. After church, that is where the fun began, because we would look forward to that rice and peas and chicken that we would be getting every Sunday. One thing in Jamaica, no matter how poor you are or what your parents don't have, they're going to try and make you some rice and peas and chicken on Sundays. And after Sunday dinner, we would watch a 3:30 matinee, and after matinee, we would be on the streets running tires or playing with the other kids. I remember with the tires, we used to pick up old tires. We would get 2 long pieces of sticks, round off the bottom of them, cut off a bottle bottom, put them in there, and get some old gas oil. When we pour it in the tire, then it would make it really slippery, and we'd be running the tire. I remember when we couldn't find any gas oil, we would go underneath the avocado trees and pick up those ripe avocados, put them in the tire, mash them out, and run the tires, and it would run as good as the gas oil. But one thing with the gas oil, when that splashed all over your clothes, it wouldn't come out. And like me and my siblings, we were on the less fortunate side of life. So when you have that gas oil on your clothes, you didn't have no more to change, so you have a 1 or 2 t-shirt. So everywhere you're going it would have all this gas oil spots over it. But we were having fun, who really cared back then? And back then, I remember we didn't have pipe water, just like a lot of Jamaicans then and even now, because even now a lot of Jamaicans don't have pipe water. I remember there was a steel drum in the community, which is still there, and whenever the parish council truck come and fill that drum, we would carry water up to late into the night because they didn't fill it often. So a lot of people from the community, they would come out and carry the water, and that water was fit for consumption. So, we could use it for drinking and cooking. And I remember for washing, we would have to go to the parish tank because the water at the parish tank, it was not fit for consumption. So we would carry water from there on our heads. And on Saturdays, we would bring our clothing over there, and we'd be washing. When we go over there, there would be a lot of other women from the community washing, and we as smaller kids, once we wash out our small clothing, we could go and play. So we would play stocky, sight in the middle, Chinese jump rope, and we'd just be enjoying life. And I remember we'd also bathe there, so that way when we carry home the water, we wouldn't have to use any of the water to bathe. I also remember that there was a big lawn at the parish tank, and it was well kept. But not because somebody went over it with a lawnmower, but this man, Mr. Gladstone or Gladson. Honestly, I'm not sure of the pronunciation of his name, because in Jamaica we have a tendency of mispronouncing people's names. But it was either Mr. Gladstone or Mr. Gladstone. He had a lot of cows, and these cows, they would just walk all over and graze on the grass, so the grass was always low and nice. And there were cow trough alongside the tank, and they would always fill them up for the cows to come and drink water. And I remember, we as kids, we would go there and drink out of the cow trough, because back then we believed that if you drank after the cows, you would have long breath, you would be able to run long distance races. And we believe it, and for years we kept drinking after the cows, until after a while, we just come to the realization to know that it's just a myth, so I guess we stopped doing it. And I remember in that area where the parish tank is, they had a lot of rose apple trees and mountain guavas. So even when we didn't go to the parish tank, we'd be in the bush roaming, picking rose apples and mountain guavas. And talking about rose apples, I remember we used to make pattern guns. We made the pattern guns from pins. So we'd cut off both ends, pull out the point of the pin and cut off the top. Pick off the rose apple blossoms and knock it up in both ends of in one end of the pen, and blow it out, and shoot it. Sometimes it sting you, say, "Ow," because your friend, or your sibling would just sting you. And I remember sometimes we would use the really slender bamboo, use it to make pattern guns. And I know a lot of kids in Jamaica back then, we all do the same. And I remember our parents used to tell us to stop picking off the rose apple blossoms. But back then we just wanted to make pattern guns. We didn't really understand that if you pick off the blossoms, you wouldn't have any fruits. And talking about picking off the blossoms, I remember we used to take the box juice boxes and make carts. So we would pick off the silver orange, or any oranges. And believe me, that was something that you would get a beating for, because they wanted the oranges to sell, or sometimes you would trespass on somebody's property, and go pick off the oranges and you'd be in trouble. But we'd take the box juice boxes, bore holes in the bottom, and use 4 of those oranges, use a piece of stick, push it through, and tie a long string on it, and pulling it, and that would be our cart. And it was just all around fun. And another thing I really enjoyed about growing up is going to work with my stepfather. I remember when I attended the Bethel All-Age School, it was a shift school back then. So school would be over at 12:30, and my stepfather would take his bicycle and come and get me and my brother. Back then he worked at the Checkers farm in Newport Square, and we really wanted to go there because they had a lot of ducks, and chickens and birds. So we really enjoyed it, and it had an orchard. So they had a lot of oranges, and we would eat a whole lot of oranges. I remember this lady there, her name was Miss Cherry. She used to work there as well. She always fixed us something to eat. But it was just fun going to the farm, and enjoying life on the farm, seeing what our stepfather did for work. And then in the evening, he would take us home. And whenever our stepfather couldn't take us to work with him, I remember sometime, we would be at people's houses. And that was just a bad experience, because sometimes you would see things and hear things that, a child is not supposed to see or hear. And sometimes, they really didn't treat us well, but what you're going to do? Because if you tell your parents, they're only going to leave you with somebody else. And, it's just the same thing. But, we grew up, and after a while, we didn't have to stay at anybody's place. We could stay home by ourselves, because, as I said, we grew up. And another thing I remember is my mother making a pot of cornmeal porridge every morning. And when I say every morning, I mean from Sunday to Sunday. Most people in Jamaica, they have an old pressure cooker that they use for the porridge pot. And when the porridge finish, who didn't get the porridge pot today have to get it tomorrow, unless we're going to be fighting over the porridge pot. And even now when I cook porridge, I still be scraping the pot, because there's just something about the bottom of that porridge pot. I remember a lot of times we'll be eating cornmeal porridge, because as I mentioned before, we were on the less fortunate side of life. Sometimes when my mother make the porridge, it would only have butter and sugar. Sometimes if she have coconut, she would grate it, juice the coconut, and put the coconut milk in the porridge. And I remember this lady by the name of Miss Merkel. Sometimes she would give us some milk, so we'd get a red label wine bottle, walk over to her house, and get some milk from her. My stepfather planted a lot of sweet potatoes and yellow yams, and I remember sometimes when my mother cooked the yam and the potato, we didn't have any meat kind, and I remember she would fry the tomatoes, and we would enjoy that with the yam and the potatoes. Sometimes when she could afford saltfish, she would cook up the saltfish with crushed chocho, season it up properly, and we would enjoy that. Sometimes she would raise a few chickens, maybe 25 chickens. She would sell most of them and would save probably 2 or 3, because we couldn't save more than that because we didn't have a refrigerator. So what she would do, she would probably ask one neighbor to put down 2 and another neighbor to put down 1. We would go and collect the chicken, cut it up, season it. We would use half on Sunday, and we'd have to carry back the next half to the neighbor's house for them to keep until, the next Sunday we'd use the next half of the chicken. And chicken was just like a luxury because I said we just ate chicken on Sundays. Just like ice cream, we didn't eat ice cream until Sundays, and not every Sundays because our parents couldn't afford it. The most times we would get ice cream is if somebody graduating and we go to the graduation, then we'll be sure of getting ice cream. And on Sundays, we would go to a man's house. His name was Masfed. We would go there to buy ice. I remember in the small chiffon cup, we would get that piece of ice for 50 cents. So we would go and, we buy the ice and we bring it home. Sometimes my mother get carrot. She would make carrot juice and, we'd enjoy that, and it was just fun growing up. I keep talking about us being on the less fortunate side of life because it was really difficult for us growing up. And sometimes some of the people who you think would have helped, they didn't. But we got a lot of help from strangers. We grew up and we made it. I don't know if you have seen my video about ungrateful people. That is something I really hate, ungratefulness. I don't hate anyone, but I hate ungrateful behavior, because when you're in need, it takes someone who really cares to reach out and give you a helping hand. Whenever I see someone in need, I always try to help, and not just because I can afford it. I help because I know what it is to be in need, and I help because I know what it is to receive, especially when you're in dire need. And in all our needs, we weren't the worst. There were people out there who were poorer than us. So as kids, we went about and we enjoyed our lives. I remember on the way to school, there was a marl hole, and whenever the rain fell, it would have a lot of water inside there. So we'd go over there and we'd play in that dirty water. And I remember sometimes, even when it was not a school day, we would leave our house and go over there to play in the water. But one thing I can tell you, when our parents found out, we would get a good butt whipping. It could be even 2 weeks after you're getting it. And now when we're all grown up, you look back and you wonder, how come some of us didn't drown? You think back and it was really dangerous. Another thing I know a lot of us can relate to is being home alone and didn't do what we're supposed to do. Because I can remember, especially on Saturdays, when our parents went to work, we were supposed to spread our beds, clean our shoes, wash up the dishes, and sweep the yard. We didn't do none of that. What we did, we run up and down in the community, we play stocky, we play pony with elastic bands, we play marbles, and we had a lot of hackberry trees in our yard. So when it is hackberry season, the kids would come around and we pick up hackberry and all of that, and for the whole day we're playing stocky and doing all of that. So when we know like 4:35 coming, we start to run up and down. Now we box and dab the dishes, box and dab the pot, don't even wash it properly. And the shoes, sometimes we don't even remember to clean them. And when our parents come home, they look around, and sometimes, yes, it's another butt whooping, because the way you run up and down and try to box and dab, you didn't get everything done. But with all of that, even with the difficulties I went through, I had a very good childhood, and I'm happy I grew up in Jamaica, because as I said before, the experiences I gained in Jamaica, I would not have gained them anywhere else. As always, I hope you have enjoyed my video. Leave your comments, and if you haven't subscribed as yet, please go ahead and do so. Thanks for watching.